Commence primary ignition.
This is the way. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to, yet again, another episode of the Book of Boba Fett After Show, ladies and gentlemen. This is the after show where we discuss, and over here on YouTube, I need to get that little after show logo popped up. There it is. This is the Book of Boba Fett After Show presented by Mando Talk, where we do spoiler discussions regarding the latest chapter of the Book of Boba Fett. And this week, we've got Chapter 3, titled The Streets of Mos Espa. We're going to spoiler discuss it, so you've been warned. If you haven't seen Chapter 3 of the Book of Boba Fett, we appreciate you checking us out wherever you're at, but come back after you have seen it. And joining me yet again, who knows if this will be the last time before the baby arrives, but we'll see, is DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan on Twitter. What's up, DJ?
Man, just like you said, waiting on a baby to show up. That's kind of about it at this point. In fact, man, there could even be a chance that I have to jump out of here tonight. Who knows? You know, man, that's how close we are. So yeah. How crazy would that be that could possibly happen? And before we just totally let my unborn daughter just run away with the show, a couple of folks already here in the chat. We got Ryan V and Roll Farm Boy, aka RFB, and Blue Harvest Bricks.
What is
just a couple? It's just it's incredible that Blue Harvest. I say this so often. It is like 1 or 2 in the morning where this dude is, and he's just like, I'm here for it. Like you must work like the night shift, and this is your lunch hour or something. I don't know. Like we greatly appreciate that, but we appreciate everybody who jumps in here and talks to us about Star Wars in general with us. And I already see a few of y'all throwing in your reviews and some thoughts from the episode, and so keep them coming. Absolutely. Yes. But if we don't get to them right away, don't feel like we left you out. We also have a lot that we would like to say, so you just keep those things coming, and we will, I promise you, come back and revisit some of these thoughts you guys are throwing down here in the comments. We again very much appreciate it. So, but other than that, Caleb, man, I tell you, this is a hotly debated episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
It has been for on my end as far as socials go. It seems like this has by far been the most divisive. I hate using that word, but it's just the case. The episode that's, you're running into people that absolutely love it, running into people that just absolutely can't stand it. I mean, we can go ahead and just do like general thoughts before we get into like full-on spoilers.
General thoughts.
There is one thing that I have been very anxiously waiting to say, and I didn't want to just tweet it out. And by the way, follow Mando Talk at Mando Talk on Twitter. Didn't want to just tweet it out because you know how Twitter is. If somebody reads it, that could be the only impression they ever have of you, and they might think of you negatively. And people that listen to the show and watch the show, you know how I am. Like, I love everything about Star Wars, everything that they're doing right now. And there's just one thing that I've kind of been sitting on and thinking about after watching this. I know when I first reached out to you, DJ, after seeing Chapter 3, I said, it may be potentially my least favorite live-action television episode to date. Now, you directly responded and said, even the gunslinger? And, I thought for a minute on that, and I was like, okay, maybe you're right. I think this chapter has a lot of stuff in it to love. This Chapter 3 of the Streets of Mos Espa.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of stuff in this thing to love. But this is kind of the thing that I've been sitting on. I think on paper, this chapter is incredible. Like, the stuff that we get inside in this Chapter 3, great stuff. But for some reason, I think the direction of the episode is what's throwing me off. And I'll just go ahead and say it. And this is kind of like the common thing that people are struggling with. For me, it was the chase. I'm not going to say speeder chase because there was no speed in that chase. Just something about it. Just
That's awesome.
Something about it just felt off.
Oh, that's great.
But those are kind of my general thoughts. And I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. If you loved it, I'm so happy for you. And I don't even plan on going negative the rest of the way. I plan on just focusing on a positive light because that's not what I do. If you loved it, I'm going to portray what I loved about it. That's what I'm going to focus on. But that's really the main things that I wanted to say before we got going. DJ, any general things that you would like to say?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought this episode was probably the most Easter eggy episode of either Mandalorian or Book of Boba to this point. And not to say there haven't been Easter eggs and moments in other episodes. This one just had callbacks to so many different things. I mean, even a callback to three, I guess, episodes of Mandalorian, with Mos Eisley and everything like that. So there's just a lot to dissect in the Easter egg world on this episode. And I think that's one of the reasons I loved this episode so much. So as far as my general thoughts go, it was certainly not the worst live action, Star Wars we've had since the Disney takeover. Even TV wise, it's not the worst, I think. Mm-hmm. So this is actually, for me, it's not going to end up being my favorite episode of the season. I know that much, but I will say that it's up there because it's so well Easter eggy, as I put it. I love little callbacks like that. And before we go any further, we've got two more individuals who jumped in the chat with us. We got Ethan Farley. I'm just curious. I have to ask, any relation to Chris? If so, please identify yourself.
I know Ethan Farley. I know Ethan. Ethan is cousin-in-law, and I am so glad that you're here, dude. I am so thankful that you're in the chat. It's awesome to see you, and I'm already seeing some great insight and thoughts from you there, too.
Well, we're going to have to come back. So he's not related to Chris Farley. You can confirm, I suppose.
No, I think I can confirm.
Okay, fair enough. Well, and then also we have Rafa. I'm going to screw this last name up. Madrigal. I hope I say that right. And all the way from Costa Rica. So, man, just living on the beach. That's not bad. Unless you're not anywhere near the beach, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know what it looks. Have you ever been to Costa Rica? I haven't been to Costa Rica.
Nope.
I haven't either. Okay. Well, regardless, we're glad everybody's here. And, that's kind of just so back to the question a second ago. Those are my kind of general thoughts. Dang, not related to Chris Farley. Major bummer, but it is what it is. So anyway, like I said, those are kind of my general thoughts. I think overall this episode for me was all about the references, and that's why I think I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, so, absolutely. It looks like, DJ, you got a good eye on that chat. Why don't you, because we got some action and we appreciate the action. Run through there real quickly and just pull out some of the big ones that are kind of catching your eye. Let's do that.
Well, starting with Ryan V, he says he says, I want more about the Bomar monks, which are the weird spider creature people. And that's heavily, been dived into in Legends material. So maybe there'll be some more about that. He also says overall he liked a lot of it, but the biker gang speeders, of course, as you mentioned, you're not going to call it a speeder chase because there was no speed, which really had me rolling. I thought that was great. And then Ethan, several thoughts. I mean, he says, we haven't seen the last of Chrysanthemum. I 100% am on board with you there, sir. I think he will 100% join Boba's entourage, and we can talk more about that here in a little while. Some things to consider going forward. Most of the present day action scenes in this episode were with supporting characters, and he's kind of leaning towards, hey, we need to get some more Boba action, which I think he's right. We should get some more Boba in action here before too long. Hopefully that's what is the case. So just that's kind of what we gotten so far. And then Blue Harvest Bricks, he enjoyed the episode. He agrees that the chase was kind of slow. I think that's the general consensus, is that chase is very slow.
Yeah,
across the board. And it is what it is. I mean, I remember thinking, because we're here, we're talking about it, might as well. I thought the chase was pretty slow initially, but I mean, it's still a chase. I mean, it's the slowest chase ever, but
yeah,
chase is a chase. So, I'll take what I can get if that's what, hopefully they can deliver more in the future. I guess the Vespas from a galaxy far, far away are not meant to go over about 15 miles an hour. Which is a huge bummer because that speeder that the Major Domo was driving is like the exact same speeder that Han used to get away.
We're going to revisit
the opening of Solo.
We're going to talk about that once we get to that part of the episode.
Whatever.
For sure. But DJ, let's kind of transition here, and something that you kind of hit me up with during the day is you wanted to revisit our predictions that we made on Tuesday. So let's do that. By the way, if you're available on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we do predictions prior to watching the latest episode live at that time. So make that plan. It's usually about an hour that we go. So plan to be there. So DJ, you wanted to revisit this. Let's hear your thoughts on these predictions. And you got some things correct. And I got to say, I struck out hardcore this week. Last week, I batted 1,000. This week, maybe one thing. Maybe one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did a little bit better, I think, this time around as far as just guessing. You know, the one thing that I really wanted to discuss that I was happy that I guessed right, and I was a little proud of myself just being a movie buff and a filmmaker kind of guy. I just was really proud that I kind of nailed this one as far as watching the progression as it goes forward. The timing was right for the Tusken Raider village to be taken out, and it's really going to propel. I mean, I firmly believe it's going to propel what we see with Boba over the next few episodes. So, and even if I've got a baby on the way, look, I'm going to hold that baby while I'm watching Book of Boba Fett. So y'all expect some extremely cute baby pictures very, very soon on the old Twitterverse. But anyway, as far as my predictions for this last episode went, that's probably the one I got the most, and I'm having to cheat off of my phone here to make sure I got it right, just to make sure like I'm not missing something. I didn't get the second one right. Boba hasn't left to go search for his armor yet, but I bet that's very soon. You know, I really think that they're going to time jump soon. I'll save anything else like that as far as, you know, for Tuesday, you know, and we'll see if I can actually be here Tuesday and throw in some predictions. But even if I'm not here Tuesday, I've already written out some. I have 10 different predictions for Chapter 4 that I'm ready to share in the case that I cannot be here. So Caleb will have those if I miss out.
Fair enough.
So hopefully, you know, I can be here, but no big deal if I can't. So anyway, those are just some of the things I wanted to run back over. So Caleb, as far as your predictions go, you've already said you kind of struck out, but is there anything that you're looking back at that you think, hey, maybe I was close?
Well, I know that I mentioned as well that the Speeder gang attempts to get revenge on Boba and the Tuskens, and the Tusken leader is killed. I should have been more in depth with that. All of them got wiped out. But yeah, Boba is not ready to return to his armor, and outside of that, I don't think that I got a single thing correct. I feel like I'm probably a week or two ahead. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Some of these predictions I made Tuesday night, I probably need to copy and paste into next week's potentially, or later down the line. But listen, folks, let's go ahead, and now what we're going to do is we are going to, you know, like we do each week, we're going to just run through the episode linearly so me and DJ can make sure that we didn't miss anything, and keep the chats coming. We appreciate it, and we'd love to hear you guys even more so from us. What you got?
Blue Harbor's Breaks is killing me. He says DJ was the only person cheering when the Tuskens got destroyed. That's not true. I was just excited I got it right. I wasn't happy they died. Yeah. That makes me sound terrible.
Nah, you're fine.
Oh man, that's so funny.
You're fine.
That's so
you're
funny.
fine. Hey, that was a very emotional moment, by the way. And
dude,
okay,
honestly, it was.
We'll get there. Okay.
Yeah, we got to stay in order.
Yeah, we got to get going. Okay, Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa, director Robert Rodriguez, writer Jon Favreau. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get straight to the opener of this episode. Beaumark monks, like you mentioned, or a Beaumark monk, is seen outside of Boba's palace as Boba, Fennec, and 8D8. I don't feel like we've really talked about that droid enough. Are discussing the state of Mos Espa. It has been divided amongst 3 families. The Trandoshans took the city center, the Aqualish took the workers' district, and the Klatooinians took the starport and upper sprawl. All of this has led to Mayor Mok Shaiz being very wealthy. It is still not confirmed who necessarily necessarily hired these assassins, either the mayor or the Hutts. That's kind of what they're discussing kind of in this moment. And then we get kind of our episode kickstart with this Lortha Peel dude who is a watermonger in the workers district. He arrives at the palace to request that Boba handle a street gang of insolent youths that have been stealing his inventory. What did you think of this dude? I know he eventually offered to double his tribute if the gang was handled appropriately. As soon as I saw him, I thought immediately the word that comes to mind is slimy. I don't like this dude. What did you think when you saw him?
First word that comes to my mind is dodgeball. All right. That's the dorky guy with glasses from Dodgeball. I mean,
no way.
And he's also, that's him. He's the guy whose wife doesn't respect him. And he's like, we can play dodgeball. That's him. That's that guy. You know, I can't remember his name, but you know, he goes off in the last, major dodgeball game at the end of the movie, but that's that guy. So like for me, I was like, I know that guy, and it clicked. We could play dodgeball. So I tripped out a little bit. No, but as far as a character goes, okay, this guy kind of portrayed himself to be a weaker individual, weaker businessman, and then you get out there into the streets and see the conversation with the biker gang, and you kind of look at him and you're like, you're just upset. Basically, in other words, this is a guy who he is the, can I speak to your manager of the Star Wars universe? That's how I see this guy. And it just so happens Boba is the manager. So he knew exactly where to go in this instance. Now, as far as that is concerned, this guy, you know, it seemed like a weird person to kind of even be in the episode. As an actor, I was like, this is not somebody I would have expected to see in Star Wars, but it makes sense that this kind of character would be there. And, you know, I could see, you know, why they had that going there, but it does help give Boba some more, I don't know if an army is the right word, but at least like a little bit of backup. I mean, if I'm Boba, I'm not choosing a bunch of Tatooine teenagers to be my backup. It seems like a bad call. But I do want to say, you know, one other thing going back to where the people are distributed and who has control over what territory in Mos Espa. The Klatooinians, I believe, you said they have the upper sprawl, which is, I'm assuming, up out of that crater, I guess. That would have been where Anakin lived. So just a little fun little thing there. Anakin Skywalker as a little child would have lived in the Klatoonian controlled area of Mos Espa. So I just think that's an interesting note. But as far as this guy goes, I mean, I kind of hope that he gets killed off. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't like him.
Maybe he can be the and I know we're getting ahead, but maybe he can be the first human to be fed to our new Rancor that we get. I would like it. I would like it. Okay.
I mean, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm all for anybody getting fed to the Rancor is great.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so Boba and Fennec now kind of respond to this. They begin their walk through the streets of Mos Espa to address and to confront this gang, and it's revealed that this Sophie Thatcher character, Vespa character, is in this gang. So it's a completely new character. You know, it wasn't Dr. Aphra or anything that we've seen before, which I personally am kind of happy about. I'm glad that this was a new character. And inside this scene, whenever they get there, first of all, I thought it was really cool to see Tatooine at night like that. But then once we get there, we kind of discover that Lortha Peel is kind of like a greedy kind of dude who's charging a month's wages for a week's water, and Boba offers the gang to come work for him after they kind of express like, look, we have no money, there are no jobs for us to even take, so we're kind of stuck here. And Lortha reveals the gang owes him 1,300 credits, and Boba gives him 500, and Boba says that it doesn't, or he doesn't like it. If he doesn't like it, he can move to Mos Eisley, which I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't really know why that was so like viewed negatively, because Fennec like laughs immediately when he says that. Is there something out there that confirms that Mos Eisley is just like a poor state right now? I mean, I know in Mandalorian it's dead, like nobody's there. But is there anything else out there that has like revealed why Mos Eisley is now viewed so negatively?
Well, I mean, Obi-Wan straight up calls it a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
True. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what I read that's the first thought I had. Didn't even consider it being empty when Mando goes in there in season 1. So when I heard that, I was thinking, okay, you know, it's a wretched hive. So more than likely, if this guy relocates to sell water, which is it's such a weird concept to me because we don't sell. I mean, we buy bottled water, but I don't know, just it's a whole thing. But anyway, he could relocate to Mos Eisley if he wanted to, but I mean, he could run into, man, who knows? I mean, bounty hunters or somebody who's just gonna try to mug them. It could be any number of things. So that's how I looked at it. And to me, I look at Mos Espa. Mos Espa is much more. It's uppity. Let me just put it. It's like the most uppity you can get, I guess, in Tatooine, or on Tatooine, I should say, and where Mos Eisley would kind of be, I guess, considered like a small town, sticks kind of deal.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. Now this scene, it kind of results in, basically it's just the plot point of Boba, getting some more help, getting some more fighters, workers, whatever you want to call them. This gang does end up following them back to the palace, and it kind of wraps up here. Lorthapil looks on kind of with disgust. That's kind of how I view it. I mean, obviously, he's probably bummed he only got 500 credits when he thought he should have gotten 1,300. So any final thoughts before we leave the opener and we transition to flashback number 1 and the only flashback of this episode?
No, let's get into the flashback because there's a lot of good stuff in that.
Yeah. All right. So young Boba watches the Slave One depart Camino in a slightly extended version of the flashback that we got. It was last chapter, I believe, where young Boba was watching Slave One, which I saw an article recently of Tamara calling it the fire sprayer, so that might be coming down the line. So I put that in parentheses in our notes just for those of you out there to kind of keep in mind. It might be referenced as fire sprayer later on in this series. He watches it depart Camino. It's interesting that we got it extended. Is this more subtleties that we're not done with young Boba? I certainly believe so. Because,
100%.
Because in my opinion, like outside of just that one moment, it really was kind of weird that it's there, other than, okay, they're teeing up the opportunity to continue to add to this scene potentially, or just a young Boba in general later in the series. And then we kind of transition away from that back to the Tusken Raider and Boba being on Tatooine. But any thoughts that you want to add to the Camino moments? Because I know that's really important to you.
Yeah, no, for me, and I have no problem saying this now. This is a prediction, but it's a prediction for like 3 episodes from now. We know, and Ryan V said this in the chat, and I wanted to shout him out again because he asked, can we talk about how Dave Filoni is writing episode 6 or chapter 6, we should say. He typically only has been writing episodes with Ahsoka or, something that would tease something later to come, so with him having written what he's written so far, I straight up think, and I texted Caleb this, I put this on Twitter, chapter 6, Boba versus Cad Bane flashback with Daniel Logan.
Gosh,
I'm calling
that would be
it,
so cool.
and it doesn't have to be anything big. I mean, just look at the Under the Helmet documentary that just released. They filmed that thing a while back. Okay. I mean, it's been a minute, but it takes a second to film anything and get it put out there. So because he was near Lucasfilm or in talks with Lucasfilm, they definitely didn't, ignore him being Boba Fett. And he's actually, somebody's put him in a Boba Fett suit before. You can Google Daniel Logan in Boba Fett costume. It looks incredible.
He looks great.
He looks incredible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, bring him in and have him fight Cad Bane in live action. That way we get that Clone Wars episode kind of finished, but in live action, we get the history of the Dent is why I'm knocking my head. Yeah. So I think, no, we are not done with, I don't want to say baby Boba Fett, but we're definitely not done with a younger Boba Fett. That's where I feel like this is going for now. And at the risk of totally screwing up my track record of guessing stuff right so far, throwing that out there, because I really think it's a possibility. I think it's a strong possibility.
No.
And RFB says something really quick, and I'll hand it back over to you. He said, is this young Boba watching Django go to Coruscant? Hey, maybe, I mean, it would be the perfect time to put it out there.
That's my own head canon right now. That's what I
There you
keep
go.
thinking of every time I see that scene. Who knows? Maybe it'll be open to interpretation like that. And honestly, I kind of want it to be. I think that'd be really cool if it was open to interpretation for the fans. Like, you view that scene how you want to. But that's currently what I'm thinking of it. Now, what I wanted to add to what you were saying, Daniel Logan recently on Instagram, and I believe Star Wars Newsnet ran an article about this today.
Yes.
Somebody on one of his posts commented and said something about, I'm not watching because you're not Boba Fett or whatever. And he replied to this and said, give it a shot or something. So I'm paraphrasing here. Give it a shot.
Yes.
You never know or something. You never know. He's basically saying you never know what
you never
you're gonna
know.
get.
You never know who's going to show up.
There you
were
go.
His words.
There you go.
Yes.
It's
And
I'm leaning. I'm about 70% leaning toward Daniel Logan's going to be showing up somehow, some way.
Well, I hope so. I hope so too. It just feels wrong, to not acknowledge him as a younger Boba at this point. And it's because he did such a good job in Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
He did such a good job in Attack of the Clones. I mean, he was only like 10 years old when he did Attack of the Clones. So, I mean, anything would be great to see him again. So I'm kind of with you. You say 70. I'm more leaning like 80, 85% that'll happen. So I would really love to see that. And Rafa in the chat is saying the same thing. And he's looking at this perception of Boba missing his father, which is a good thing that, of course, if your dad passes away, you're going to be thinking about that relationship you had with that. And it's any loved one probably. So and we see that with Luke. It's kind of like Luke's version of looking on Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru having been totally, wiped out in A New Hope before he goes off with Obi-Wan. So it's kind of a similar situation here. It's nice how these things mirror. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's coming back. He's coming back for sure.
All right. Well, we'll see. We will see. Okay, so we kind of get that tease again, and we'll see if they keep playing off of it. But then we go back to Boba being on Tatooine, and he's riding a bantha away from the Tusken Raider tribe to Mos Eisley to meet with the Pikes. And I gotta say, it's a really cool scene seeing Boba on this bantha with like the Tatooine suns behind him, and it's like this silhouette. It's great. It's phenomenal. It's the Western vibes of why so many people fell in love with The Mandalorian. And then he arrives to Mos Eisley, and in the background we see the stormtrooper helmets that are put on spikes, and we see Pelimoto. Both of these are connections directly to Mandalorian, and as a diehard Mandalorian fan, I love to see this. As somebody that loves Pelimoto, I absolutely love to see her. It was really great, really cool. What did you think of that small, subtle connection?
It's cool because we're watching the stormtrooper helmets go on the pikes. No, I mean, not pikes, spikes, I should say, the poles, I got it all kind of confused there for a second. But it's cool because that shows that the Empire has just been wiped out. And that means the Death Star has been blown up while Boba's been with the Tuskens. It's a subtle story note.
Great analysis. This whole time I was just thinking, there's a cool shot of Mandalorian stuff, but I didn't even think about how this potentially timelines exactly when Boba is there. When
Star Wars, I only go deep. I can't not dig any deeper. It's just what it is. I'm basically bragging right now. No, that just came to me. It's not a thought I had until just now.
Nice.
It's just kind of one of those, hey, you know what? Boba's been with the Tuskens this whole time. Why else? And that means that people in Tatooine were sick of it. Mm-hmm. And that would also tell us, and that tells us with the Sarlacc pit as well, with the Stormtrooper in the first episode, the Empire never left Tatooine after episode 4. So,
and
it's a
shout
great
out to
point.
Ethan who adds to that, saying also probably Boba's first clue that something has happened to the Empire.
Yeah, it might be his first clue. That's incredible. Yes. Great analysis,
Man.
Ethan. I love that.
Didn't even think of this. I was just thinking,
But
cool. They're just doing a little Easter egg with Mandalorian. Whatever.
Oh, I know, and I love the fact that it was an Easter egg. Don't get me wrong, that's my favorite thing about this episode is the Easter egg. So having seen that, and then Pelimoto, honestly, I was kind of getting tired of her character in season 2. I was like, are we really like this the first time around in season 2? I was like, hey, she's back, and then I saw her again. I was like, I didn't need to see you again. But it's nice if she's just walking in the background with those pit droids. I think that's hilarious. I love. It's just a reminder of like, hey, you remember Mandalorian? Like it's Disney subtly being like, hey, go back and rewatch those episodes.
Yeah, because I'm desperate. I've been wanting to go back and watch the Tatooine episodes of Mandalorian. I just haven't had the opportunity to do it. So they did exactly what they sought out to do. So next thing here in the episode, we get this one-on-one conversation between Boba and a very fancily, is that a word? Fancily? Very decked out Pike leader. It is revealed that the Pike Syndicate is already paying the Kenton Striders for protection. I believe that's the speeder gang. I just think that's the name drop of what they're calling them. So they will not be paying... So what that Pike leader is saying is they will not be paying Boba and the Tuskens for protection, and Boba at this point is determined to then wipe out that Kenton Strider gang officially. And you know what? Honestly, I know the Pikes were probably supposed to be viewing them as villains, but I could totally get where that Pike leader was coming from. Like, why would they pay both of them? Like, that's something that those two groups are going to have to figure out, the Tusken Raiders and the Striders. They're going to have to figure out which one is going to win that battle to then protect us. So, I kind of understood where he was coming from, but obviously I know we're supposed to view the Pikes as just evil people, but it set up a pretty emotional moment. But before we leave their one-on-one conversation, what did you think of this moment?
I was a little surprised to see the Pikes come back, and I do like that we get the name drop of the biker gang from Boba's past, the Kentan Striders, which I had to Google it today to figure out what that was. And it turns out it's one of the little people that are on the hollow chessboard in the Millennium Falcon. And we see all the time, the little chess, when they play chess, it's one of those little animals, those little creatures. So a Kenton or a Kenton Strider. I don't know if it's a Kenton or a Kenton Strider, but and I don't know Orabesh either, the Star Wars language. So maybe that JL shape is the 2 letters of Kenton Strider, whatever they are in Orabesh. I don't know because I don't do Orabesh. I've attempted to translate Orabesh before, and it's a headache and a half. But anyway, I really think that this is a great scene. It shows us where the crime lord aspect of things is coming in, and it really shows us Boba's first time at being, any kind of a leader of any kind of a clan or anything like that. And so that, he's going to pull from that in his crime lord stuff as we go forward, more than likely is my guess. So I think it's great. And you're right. It does set up the next scene very, very well, very well. Cause it's not something like I expected it to happen. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily expect it to go down the way it did. You know what I mean?
And looking back on it, when Boba was striding away on the Bantha and they show the leader, the female warrior, the kid, now watching it again, you're like, oh gosh, that's the last time he's going to see those Tusken Raiders, because he goes back to that camp and those Striders have officially wiped out those Tusken Raiders. And I got to say, the moment when Boba is throwing the gaffy sticks into the fire, that hit really hard, especially when he pulled out the little kid's just wooden stick where that little kid was just acting like he had the real thing.
Yes.
Golly, that was some heavy emotions. And this kind of sets Boba on to the next thing. That's where the flashback ends. But it's certainly, and I think somebody that was watching live, and maybe you're still watching live, earlier in the chat mentioned how I think this is kind of segueing into a lesser amount of flashbacks, because we're getting very, very, very closer to Boba present day as far as his motives go. But man, was this tough. DJ, thoughts on the emotions and just thoughts overall from the flashback before we move back into present day.
It's interesting because Yeah, I can't find who said it. Something about the flashbacks kind of disappearing as we go forward, which it makes sense if that's the case. And RFB confirms that it's not Orabesh that they're writing, so that JL means something totally different. But with the Tuskens, that scene, him coming back, I wasn't totally expecting it to come up that fast. I thought it'd be a second flashback in the episode, to be honest with you. So when it ended there and we just got the rest of the present day stuff, it was good present day stuff. I was fine with it, but I was expecting it later, this kind of, them getting killed off kind of thing. But he does throw that stick onto the fire. Reminds me of the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Ooh,
and
great movie. Goodness.
Oh yes. Yeah. We should do an episode where we just talk about The Patriot and just call it a Geekverse
reactions to The Patriot.
To The Patriot. Yes. I love that movie. And it's incredible. There's an extended edition of it, by the way.
Really?
It's really good. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Y'all let us know if you want us to review The Patriot in the chat. But anyway, there's the scene when that one guy, JL stands for Jabba Love. Nice, Ryan V. But there's the scene when this guy's son gets killed by the Redcoats, and he sees him there laying there, and there's a shack or something burning, and he, the rest of the story, you'll go watch it for yourself. And it's a very sad moment. It reminded me of that because the difference here is that Boba's like, I'm going to do something about this. So what we're seeing here is Boba's past mirroring his present. We're seeing him say, you took out my family, I'm going to come for you. And then we're now seeing, as a crime lord at the end of the episode, we're going to be ready for war. Cause he's like, get the drums ready. We're about to head off into the sunset together, y'all, is what he's thinking. So, that's where, there's so much emotion happening here. You can see the wheels turning in Boba's mind as he's trying to figure out what his next move is going to be, if he hasn't already figured it out. And it was very sad. However, I will say, I don't think that the kid is dead. And I don't think that the woman, the female warrior, is dead. We didn't see their bodies. We did see the Tusken leader's body, which I called the Tusken leader getting killed. But it didn't get it all totally right, because Boba didn't. I guess he's technically the leader of the tribe now, if he's the only one.
Sure.
So
yeah.
But anyway, I don't think that they're dead. I think that they escaped, and I think he's going to find them, and they're going to kick some tail. Yeah, I really hope that's the case.
Because I know I just made a comment about how the flashbacks are slowly kind of going away, but don't forget, two things are coming to my mind right now. Number one, we still haven't seen the trailer shot of these Striders being on their speeders. So it would certainly make sense for an upcoming chapter to see Boba and whoever's with him to get full-on deadly revenge. And I'm sure there will be a lot of emotion behind all of those swings. And then secondly, the other flashback moment that I'm thinking of is Boba looking at Jabba's palace. So we are still definitely going to be dealing with some flashback moments. But we'll see. I can definitely see kind of this transitioning occurring, though, because we are very closely getting to the Mandalorian time frame and the present day time frame of the Book of Boba Fett. Any final thoughts from you regarding flashbacks before we do get to that present time of the Book of Boba Fett?
Just that Ryan V here says the warrior Tusken will come back with a different tribe and help defeat Crimson Dawn in the finale. Hello, that's something right there.
Now,
that's some good stuff.
Didn't we say something about Tusken Raiders coming around to help on Tuesday's prediction?
Last week we did, just the other day, yes. Which, hey, go in there and go to war like a bantha. I mean, that
like a bantha.
Can you? Oh, bantha's riding into war. Bantha's riding into war, Caleb.
Dude, sign me up.
Come on.
With Black Car Santon running with him. Sign me up.
Oh, on top of a bantha, he's just riding. No, Black Car Santon's on a daggum dewback. That's where he is. He's riding a dewback. Just boom! It's gonna be lit.
Well, talk about a perfect Vespa, aka a perfect segue. Let's get into Black Car Santon, because as soon as this flashback ends, it's forcefully ended by our boy Black Car Santon, who wakens Boba from his bactopod, and he's there, and he full on attacks, and he full on wrecks, and I mean wrecks, Boba before the Vespa gang and the Gamorreans come in to aid. So before we go any further, though, I have to say I kind of jumped a little bit in my seat when I saw Black Krrsantan just looking down on Boba there. It was very cool kind of seeing the Knuckles, I don't know, electricity. I don't know what was going on there. I'm sure the comic book readers might know some information about that. It's cool. It's weird saying this, but it's funny seeing Boba in Hanes boxer briefs and just getting tossed around. Very cool.
Man, the Boba Fett underoos are now canon, is what I took. I think I sent a picture of the Boba Fett underoos to Caleb.
Yeah,
I saw it everywhere. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on Facebook. I was like, this is hilarious. He's wearing underoos. I think it's incredible. So yeah, I definitely was like, oh crap, that's a Wookiee. Like that was the first thing I thought. It registered Black Krrsantan, immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, because Chewbacca's on my poster here behind me, I had to put this poster up tonight because of Black Krrsantan. I don't have a Black Krrsantan poster now. I want a Black Krrsantan stuffed animal so bad now. I think it'd be so much fun to have. But he came in here, and you're right, dude. He just full blown wrecked shop on Boba, and Boba, granted, he's still Boba, and he held his own as best as anybody could in that scenario. I mean, he was sneak attacked. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing. I mean, man, for force sake, he's just in his undies. I mean, he did what he could, and if it hadn't been for a bunch of teenagers kind of helping him, it went. And honestly, Fennec, was still there too. Which I have a beef a little bit though. Why is Boba the only one dressed for bed? Why isn't anybody else in their Star Wars jammies? Is what I want to know. They all came running in like they hadn't just been woken up, and I was like, "Are you guys just awake all the time?"
Hey,
even Fennec. I still think Fennec is out here to betray Boba, and that I believe was. I don't think Black Krrsantan was getting in there if Fennec, didn't let him. I think there's something fishy going on here. I still expect Fennec to defect. Man, that's what I'm expecting. I really think, and that would be dope. I think it'd be so awesome. This scene's incredible. I've replayed it in my head 4 trillion times since I've watched it. I go to sleep thinking about it. Even when I'm not sleeping, I'm thinking about it. It's the greatest thing that's happened in my week. It's just been great.
Absolutely. Now I found it interesting that Fennec was last to kind of come in there. Like I was wondering what's she doing, where's she at the whole time. It was interesting to kind of see the 5 Vespa or however many there were kind of go toe to toe there with Krrsantan. And yeah, there is one kind of decision in there that I thought was interesting as well, that Boba did not get to his armor. He wasn't able to put it on. I know he tried to put on one of his gauntlets and do something about it, but I actually kind of liked that he had to rely only on his former Tusken Raider training of just using the gaffy stick. Now, obviously, it wasn't enough at the end of the day. And I am kind of a little bit bummed that we're not going to see like a full-on Boba suited up battle with Black Krrsantan, because they don't really seem like they're enemies by the end of this chapter. So that's fine, though. I'm not too worried about it. We'll see. We'll see what happens between those two characters. But we do kind of transition. Well, next, Fennec does kind of get him inside that Rancor pit to kind of trap him for a little bit. But then Boba and Fennec are enjoying a very nice meal together. And it kind of seems like Boba's annoyed by how nice of a meal that they are getting, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. And they're kind of discussing the next steps that they need to take after the Black Krrsantan attack. And then suddenly, as they're kind of making those plans, 8D8 arrives and informs that the Hutts have arrived with a gift. So let me just do the rundown of this little scene, and again, we'll pass it to DJ, and then that'll kind of fuel our discussion. The twins offer an apology. They admit that they sent Black Krrsantan to kill him. They then offer a Rancor as a gift, whose keeper is Danny Trejo, which was really cool, and we'll discuss more about him later.
Yes.
They reveal that they will be leaving Tatooine and returning to Nal Hutta due to the territory being promised to another syndicate by the mayor, Mok Shai's. Boba then offers Black Krrsantan's release back to the twins to seal the deal that they will not lay claim to Jabba's legacy, but the twins tell Boba to accept Black Krrsantan back to the gladiators, or to sell Black Krrsantan back to the gladiators and accept that as their tribute. But Boba decides to release him. They kind of look at each other, which kind of teases that they might see each other again. Who knows? But that's kind of this scene, this moment. It was really cool. I was hooked. I was captivated this whole time listening to the discussion that they were having. I was questioning the Hutts being legit there, just like Boba and Fennec were. By the end of this, they were questioning, should we really trust them? Let's set up a meeting with the mayor to really get to figure out what's going on. I loved this moment, and I gotta say, this conversation between the two parties was my favorite moment of this episode. So DJ, I'll now pass it to you. What did you think of all of this, all of the different reveals, the Rancor, Danny Trejo, like all of it? What did you think?
It certainly was the most important moment of the episode. There's no doubt. The conversation between Boba and the two Hutt twins. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we're done seeing Black Krrsantan. Rafa's down here in the chat saying he's going to help Boba out somewhere down the line. And yeah, I think that's 100% going to happen. You even said, Caleb, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, to add to that, somebody in our Discord today made a connection to how Wookiees have life debts. And how that could potentially portray Krrsantan and Boba to work together in this show.
Yeah, and I think that will be something that takes place. I think it was Speeder Bike Tim in the Discord. So shout out if you're not a part of our Discord. We haven't talked about Discord in a minute, but if you're not a part of our Discord, go jump in there, because we're trying to be more active in there. And we're kind of relying on Speeder Bike Tim. He's been jumping in great this week for us, and we really appreciate him. But all that aside, go join our Discord, because you guys don't have to just talk to us on the chat. We would love to talk to you on Discord. So, but going forward, I think that there is a life debt situation that could come up. I initially thought that the life debt situation would have something to do with Fennec and Boba. But because I keep thinking that she's going to betray him, I think that it's going to be more of a, maybe it's Krrsantan and Boba, and maybe that's going to give us a nice little Han and Chewie feel. Like Boba's got his Wookiee, and
okay.
How cool would that be, But like I really think that this thing, it rhymes. Yes, always. I need to rewatch that doc. Anyway, I still think that this conversation with the Hutts is very telling. They said a different syndicate. Guys, it's either the Pikes or it's Crimson Dawn. I mean,
and that's
I really think it's Crimson Dawn.
That's immediately what I thought of when he said it.
It's
I was like,
be.
Let's go, Emilia Clarke. Bring on the dragons. Let's go.
Crimson Dawn. It's like, you want to know why it's crimson? And then dragons just start breathing fire. So it's going to happen. If she comes in on a dewback, what if she comes in riding a dewback? The closest, or a crate dragon.
Gosh, just put her on something. Come on, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's definitely, that's what's going on. Danny Trejo, he has been in every Robert Rodriguez production ever. So Machete is how I know him from Spy Kids.
Spy Kids, yes.
Yes, grew up with Spy Kids. People hate on Spy Kids. I love Spy Kids. Like, I remember when Robert Rodriguez was announced as a director for Mandalorian, everybody was like, is it just going to be Spy Kids with Star Wars? Mm-hmm. People are trashing it. But anyway, it's worked out so well, clearly. And Danny Trejo is a Rancor Wrangler. Yes, all day long, forever. I think it's fantastic. And this is where we get some of the best Easter eggs. Dathomir Witches are mentioned. The Rancor itself is in there. Who knows if this is Moochie from Bad Batch? I mean, I'm kind of hoping it is. Maybe because Bib Fortuna picked up Moochie from the Bad Batch. Yeah. Jabba gifted that Rancor to his niece and nephew. That's his niece? No, cousin. Or is it cousins?
Cousins.
Whatever. Cousins. Regardless, what if that's the gift and they're just regifting the Rancor?
Maybe. But the only thing that I would think regarding that, and this kind of goes into the next thing where we go inside that Rancor pit, Danny Trejo is kind of discussing, and explaining this particular Rancor. He says that this Rancor is depressed, says that it's emotionally complex. It's an emotionally complex creature. And this is the part that I was specifically thinking of, that it was a calf and bred from champions for fighting, and that Danny Trejo's character himself saved him to train. So that's the only reason why I'm thinking that it's not necessarily Moochie, but maybe a brand new Rancor, which I'm totally fine with. But, you know, something that was inside this scene that really that really stuck to me was this whole idea of imprinting on the first human that the Rancor sees. I absolutely love that little detail. I don't know what it is about that, but just sign me up about that idea.
Oh, I know what it is.
I love it. What is it?
I know exactly what it is. I'm telling you, it is because of that dude who was taking care of Jabba's Rancor. You know, Jabba's Rancor, that guy, they had a bond. I remember being a kid and being like, Dad, I'm asking my dad, why is that guy crying? I mean, I saw the Rancor as a monster. I was like, why is he crying? And he goes, well, that was his pet. He took care of him. And I was like, oh, okay. So watching Boba's relationship develop with this Rancor is 100%, you know, a callback to that guy was crying because that was his pet. You know, he took care of that thing. And that's what that's all about. I'm telling you right now, that's what it has to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, you know, and again, I'll just continue. It says, is loving, and then, like you said, was ridden by witches of Dathomir through the forest and fens. Really cool little connections there. And then Boba begins petting the Rancor, and he expresses his desire to learn how to ride it. And I immediately thought of Star Wars Newsnet, how a few months ago they talked about how Boba Fett was potentially spotted on set riding a Rancor. So it seems like we're definitely going in that direction, and I can't wait to see it. And also, he revealed that he's ridden beasts 10 times the size. What did you think, and what creatures did you think
special.
Of? Yeah.
Holiday special, baby. Holiday special. He's out there riding whatever the heck that thing was, and Ethan already said it in the chat too. He was riding that thing from the Story of the Faithful Wookiee. Everybody thinks that's what that's a reference to. There's no way that's not what that's a reference to. That's too cool.
For me, you know, I'm hoping Mythosaur, you know, because I'm all about it.
I don't care.
All about it.
I don't really care.
But I like the holiday special connection there too. Don't get me wrong.
No, I mean, I don't care if it's a Mythosaur or not. I mean,
yeah,
we're still if he's rode the Mythosaur, the whether or not Boba's a Mandalorian debate is over. Okay,
it's over
because it's done. What 3, 2, 1? He's down. Anyway, I've never watched wrestling. I don't know if that's evident about the everything about me.
Yeah,
but I do like the UFC. I do like to watch some UFC. So there's a little tidbit about me. Now, one day we'll have a Mando Talk trivia contest, and that'll be one of the trivia questions. No,
maybe.
I'm just kidding. But that's where I'm at on this. I mean, it was just there's just so much happening in this Rancor pit that isn't deadly. You know, we can actually dissect some emotion, you know, on this, and it's just an incredible, you know, tidbit, I guess, so to speak. And of course, the whole time Danny Trejo's there, which is just like perfect. I don't know why, but it is.
Yeah, no, you're right. The only other final things here that we haven't mentioned that I want to make sure that we do before we move forward. Boba definitely teases an eventual name because he's like, what are we going to call you? Like, we're definitely going to get a name drop eventually for this Rancor. The Rancor does imprint on Boba when the blinders are removed, or at least that's how I interpreted that scene for sure. And then this training is definitely interrupted by 8D8 with the news that the mayor is unavailable for the next 20 days. And Boba leaves, but instructs to feed the Rancor first. And I'm glad they showed this little shot. I enjoyed it enough to put it in the notes. It looked like Danny Trejo's character and the Rancor look very pleased that Boba Fett is this Rancor's new master. I loved that for some reason, so I just felt the need to mention that. So I'll just pass it to you, DJ, before we leave the Rancor pit, because I know that the Rancor was also something that was very important to you about the Book of Boba Fett and potentially getting a new one. So I don't want to move away from it before potentially giving you the final say.
I didn't care if a Rancor came back. I was hoping for a different monster, but given that the Star Wars Newsnet article back from October was about Boba riding a Rancor, and now it's looking like that's going to be very true, Which at the time I was like, why would Boba ride a Rancor? Now I'm like, Boba's going to ride a Rancor, and that's fine. Tim Arnold has joined the chat. Good evening. Hello there. Glad you're here.
I'm pretty sure that's Speeder Bike Tim.
Is that him?
Pretty sure.
Well, welcome, our friend from Discord, Speeder Bike Tim. It's great that there's a Rancor. I will be upset if it doesn't eat somebody or something. I need to see that.
Maybe the water
That's
dude.
all I want. The witch dude?
The water dude.
That guy needs to be eaten by the Rancor. He needs to just be eaten by the Sarlacc pit. That's how much I dislike him.
He needs to get got.
He does need to get got.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's move on next to the episode. So Boba and Fennec and the Vespa gang immediately go to try to meet with the mayor. They refuse to wait 20 days, and rightfully so. And they arrive, and the mayor, the major domo is there at the door to greet them, and the receptionist. I love the dude. I love that receptionist.
You and I came across a Twitter account for the receptionist.
We did.
I can't remember the handle now, but it's something.
I think
Mos Espa.
I think it's SW_ receptionist. I think.
Star Wars receptionist,
something like that.
Either way, that guy. I actually saw something interesting about that guy. He, somebody thinks that he is just a reprisal of a character that was in the Cantina in 1977.
Really?
That just some background character. He's like, all right, I got a job in Mos Espa as a receptionist, and he just goes to Mos Eisley. Which reminds me of a country song called Dallas Days and Fort Worth Nights, if anybody's interested in checking that out.
Okay.
That's what that reminds me of. That's a random reference. But anyway, go check out, I guess, Star Wars or SW receptionist on Twitter.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go in there. The major domo is acting, he's acting perfectly. Like I continue to love whenever this major domo is saying things, because this actor is playing the role beautifully. He locks himself in the mayor's chambers to try to escape on the Solo-esque speeder, or the vehicle that Han Solo and Kira rode on and piloted in the opening shots and opening scenes of Solo, A Star Wars Story. And this Vespa chase ensues. And inside this Vespa chase, there are so many Easter eggs. We got pit droids, Ralph McQuarrie's...
I will be right back.
Okay. Pit droids.
I have something I need to show everybody.
Okay. Pit droids, Ralph McQuarrie's concept art of Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, and the droid taxi from Attack of the Clones. And I know that the droid taxi is a big deal to DJ, and it looks like he's back.
Absolutely it is.
What do you got?
I own it. I own the concept art.
Look at that, ladies.
You know how cool? You know how excited I was when I saw that? I was like, I have that. It's
dude,
hanging
you have
on
a
another
piece of Star Wars canon material, like literally.
Right?
Like
I am
in
canon
a shot
at this point. I am canon. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is the coolest thing, and I want to decide that y'all can see my reflection of my ring light and everything now. But in this, the only thing that's different from the shot in the show is they took out Luke and Boba.
Yes, they did.
Everything else is the same. And I meant to grab this before we started, but I forgot. What's that?
Hold up. I know the podcast listeners didn't just see what happened. It looked like when you pointed at the picture with the mic, you were trying to interview missing Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker, welcome to Mando Talk. How does it feel to be written out of the Book of Boba Fett? Well, there you have it, folks. No, that's not what I was doing, but hey, it's hilarious. No, and you said the taxi droid. Mm-hmm. Listen, that was a big deal for me because it's another Attack of the Clones callback. It's all that matters. Augie doggy. Like, that's just hilarious. And I can't tell you how many times a week I'm not even joking. How many times a week, Caleb, I say to myself, Augie doggy. I say it all the time. It's insane. So seeing that guy, I was just like, this is great. I could, this is where that's why this scene was so much fun to me, because it had so many Easter eggs. And I don't care if the speeder bikes are slow. We already have established that. Yeah, Ethan's over here calling it Spy Kid. It's Spy Kids pod racing. You're right.
I like that,
but
Ethan.
we might need to keep that going. Spy Kids pod racing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's where I needed to just throw this all in there real quick, because I genuinely appreciated so much of this. It just had like 80 different Easter eggs in it, and that's why I loved it so much.
Yeah, no, it was Easter egg heavy, and I didn't really want to, like I said at the top, I've already mentioned, how it looked and how it felt for me, but it was cool to see the solo type of vehicle there, and something that I have to remind myself is, as far as speed goes, this isn't Han Solo driving that vehicle. This is the goofy Major Domo. So let's remind ourselves of that too. Like, I understand that aspect. I think it's just more so just the general way that the whole thing was shot. But, again, like I said, let's not waste any time on that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Let's just get to the cool stuff. The Vespa gang then ends up stopping the Major Domo, and this is a really cool moment when Boba finally flies in on that jetpack. That was a super cool little mini shot.
Yes.
Great. Loved it.
Great
and
moment.
The Major
Great
Domo
moment.
reveals that the mayor is gone with the Pikes and is, in fact, working with them. So it does seem like the Hutts, the twins, were telling the truth. They were telling the truth. So, before we go to the final moments of the episode, DJ, final thoughts on the Vespa chase. I'm not calling it speeder chase.
It is a Vespa chase. And you ever ridden a Vespa? Because those things go about 40 miles an hour.
No, I have not.
My dad owned a type of Vespa, and I won't say how fast I've driven it, but it will go. I will say how fast. You can get up to 50 going downhill, just saying.
Very nice.
It's impressive. It's also very scary. But don't mind me playing with my Boba Fett action figure and mimicking the drop, but the worst mimicking of a jetpack drop you've ever seen. But, it was fun. It was good stuff, and it set up the next thing. And that's what we need to get to, is the next thing.
Yeah, and this next thing is that after it's kind of revealed that he is working for them, a massive Starliner arrives on Mos Espa full of Pikes, and a Vespa gang member reports back to Boba and Fennec that the Pikes have indeed arrived, meaning that the twins were correct. They actually told the truth. And then this tease of war is made, and Boba says, "We will be ready." And that is where we are left with here at the end of chapter 3. Great reveal, the potential, the hope of a Kira and Crimson Dawn. I told DJ after seeing this is more alive now than it was last week at the same time. So I'll take this as a win. And I'm more interested to see the nitty gritty with the Pikes and this war that is indeed brewing. All right, DJ, what did you think?
No, I mean, to me, there's always a calm before the storm, and there's always a short calm before the war begins. Things heat up before there's war. Boba coming in and taking out Bib Fortuna was that calm, and that's where the calm stopped. And ever since then, the waves that a war is brewing has just been slowly coming in and out of that shoreline, so to speak. So it's really neat to see what they're doing as far as what they're writing, how that's going to be played out. I'm very excited to see how that's going to happen. Even Rafa again back in the chat saying Kira will be here soon is his hope, and he thinks it has to happen, which that's a big thing, man. If you think that has to happen, I don't think it needs to happen, but it's the best, it's the coolest option. Bring back
that was Ryan. That was Ryan. I think you said
that was
Rafa.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I did say Rafa. I was looking at it quick is what happened. Ryan, you're right on there. And Tim also saying this is where Din Djarin comes in. Hey, you know what? There are people still saying that there could be a Din Djarin cameo in this. So it does make sense that there could be a Din Djarin cameo very soon. And it does make sense to come in for the final finale type battle. So that's a lot of good thoughts there, culminating, to my brain head. That's some fun stuff. So, I mean, that's where I'm hoping this thing kind of goes. And I think that we're not going to get that on Wednesday, I don't think we'll get that on Wednesday, but and speaking of things that we might get on Wednesday, come back Tuesday for our predictions. So you can hear what we think, and we would love to hear y'all's predictions too. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say this. If you want your predictions read on the show, drop them in Discord. Go drop them in Discord and do it in the main chat. We would love to hear you guys thoughts on those things that you think might happen. So please go ahead and do that, because we'll make sure to read those out. But all said and done, man, war's brewing, and I want to charge down the Dune Sea on a bantha, man.
On a bantha.
Like a bantha. That's all I want to do now is ride on a bantha.
I can't
Add
remember
that to the bucket list.
I can't remember who said this in the chat, but ever since it was said, I am mentally still thinking about the possibility of seeing Boba riding a Rancor, Tuskens riding Banthas, and Black Carsantin along with the ride, heading toward these pikes and potentially Crimson Dawn. Let's not get our expectations set to that, because that is crazy. That's insane.
I will shed, if that happens, I'm staring into the camera. If that happens, I will shed so many tears that moisture farming will become obsolete on Tatooine. I just want to put that out there, because come on, guys. Just it's beautiful. Yeah. I want the Lego set. That's what I want. I want the Lego set.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Well, I'm going to make my own Lego set of that. That's what's going to happen.
We'll see. We'll see if it comes to that type of moment. But it sounds like me and DJ, if it doesn't happen, we're going to have to shoot a Lego scene of this happening in some form or something.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen.
It's so much fun.
If you're loving the Book of Boba Fett and you're loving what we're doing here and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. We obviously have way too much fun doing this. If you like having fun, this is the place for you. So again, we'll do our final plugs here. Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on YouTube, we do our Book of Boba Fett predictions. And then Thursdays, like right now, at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we do our spoiler discussion, our after shows. And then, this audio is, though, then uploaded to our podcast listeners on Friday morning, so you're not missing anything, and we just greatly appreciate wherever you're catching our voices. And other than that, just if you want some more action from us, Discord, it's in the link, and then our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Mando Talk on all of those platforms. DJ, any final thoughts that you would like to share with our lovely audience?
You said that all we do around here is have fun. And a song came to my mind from the Beach Boys. It goes, and we'll have fun until Boba takes our bantha away.
Nice. Very nice. All right. I can't follow that up. Okay, so let's get out of here. We hope you have a blessed rest of the week, and a blessed weekend, and we can't wait to see you on Tuesday for our Book of Boba Fett predictions. And until then, as always, we have spoken.